What is up guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing here some test hands for the virtual world deck that I recently profiled. This is definitely going to be very exciting because this is definitely one of the most combo oriented decks as well as one of the most interactive decks as well. Definitely making them a really interesting and unique deck that stands out from the rest. But like I said from before in the previous video, I do actually have some cards that I have yet to actually obtain to complete the deck. This would include Lulu, Lao Lao, and also Shen Shen. So with that being said, I did have to actually proxy them in, and that way I could actually just work with each of these test hands here. But you know, everything can still go as the way they are. The idea behind Shen Shen is, even though you guys don't know its effects, the main thing you have to know about it is if I do go for Shen Shen, it's essentially a level 9 and it is a walking macrocosmos. That's pretty much the whole idea behind it. Of course, it only applies to cards from the field getting sent to the grave, so hand traps unfortunately don't go to the grave. But even so, let's just get started with this. But before we do, I would like to remind you guys to drop a like, share, comment and subscribe, as it really does help the channel. And without further ado, let's begin. Alright, so here's a very interesting hand here. As you can see, there's definitely quite a few different things we could actually work with. We are going first, so the Ash is more of a disruption. But we do also have here the Cosmic Cyclone, that could also be a disruption as well. So right off the bat, these two cards are great ways to just stop the opponent already. And that's the flexibility with the virtual worlds. It allows you to play a lot of hand traps, it allows you to play a lot of cards like Cosmic Cyclone, allowing you to just deal with the opponent's cards. Cosmic Cyclone easily deals with Magical Meltdown or any other field spell anyway. And Ash of course just prevents a search, so definitely fantastic as well. And so we're pretty much just working with these three particular cards over here, and that would be very fun. So let's just have this in the ready for the hand, and this can set. So we essentially just have these two cards as ready for negate and or disruption. These three we could definitely work with here. Since these two are actually level 6, we can't actually do anything, so the unfortunate thing is we will have to summon off the Nian Nian, but that's okay because we could still definitely pull off some things. Lao Lao doesn't really apply in this case because we have nothing in the graveyard, so it makes it really simple that we go for Lily here. So since this is in the hand, we target our virtual world card, which is Nian Nian, so we could either send a spell or a trap. I'm going to send a trap card. So in this particular case, we're going to get Chu Che to the graveyard, and we are going to add our Kowloon. So with that being said, now that, well actually no, we ditched 2 cards to the graveyard, so that would actually be a different case. Sorry about that. So in this case, you could either get rid of Gigi, or maybe we can get rid of, I wouldn't get rid of Lulu, but getting rid of Gigi is not too bad of an option. And you'll see why soon, so I'll just ditch that to the graveyard. Next here, I'm going to, let's see, special summon this card out, and then I'll also send another virtual world card aside from GG as well, so that's going to be very nice there. No, I've already sent it to the grave, what am I thinking? But yeah, with that being said, now we can go for the Lao Lao effect, so summon that out. Again, targeting one of these cards, and in this particular case we could then send off one of our cards from the deck to the grave as well. So what do you actually want to send here in this particular case? You could send the Lulu, that's not necessarily the worst option, but I'm going to send off Toto to the graveyard, or Tutu, and that would be fantastic to summon out one of your monsters as well. So in this particular case, we can't summon back Tutu because it was the one we just sent with Lao Lao. So I'm going to summon out the Gigi here. And now we actually have quite a good variety of different cards we could potentially go for here. So in this particular case, let's say you kept this in the hand, right? You could actually just take the Gigi, and you could take the Nian Nian in this case. Well, we can't actually do a summon there, unfortunately, but that's okay, because we could still overlay these two, and this would allow us to either go for Long, Break Sword. So it's definitely quite interesting to see what we could potentially go for here. I think it would be nice to go for the Break Sword since we can't go into Long anyway. But with that being said, let's see, we have here Lily and we have Lao. Both are different, of course, different levels, or different types, of course, so tuner and non-tuner. So we'll send those to the graveyard, allowing us to summon out our Zolkin. And by setting down our Cosmic Cyclone, we trigger off Zolkin, allowing us to bring out our Crystal Wing. So that's definitely a very nice start, because we essentially have 3 negates here, and they still have to find a way to get over this, which is going to be difficult. On top of that, the Zolkin pretty much is like a wall to itself, because as long as you have another Synchro, then this keeps the opponent from getting through to you. So definitely fantastic here, definitely a great start. Let's move on. Alright, great here. So this is very nice. I do like this because we could technically do whatever we want since we have Pot of Desires anchored by the grave here. With that being said, let's just see what we could potentially do. So we do have to do a normal summon at the very least. So we do have Lily here, but we can't actually normal summon that since that's a level 6. So that is definitely very unfortunate, but we can send 2 cards to the graveyard, which would actually be really helpful. We have Lulu here as well, which could potentially allow us to add more cards. That's definitely fantastic. I'm thinking the best thing we could start off with here is Pot of Desires. If your opponent wants to negate, you could activate the Called by the Grave to stop them. But even so, I'm just gonna assume the benefit of the doubt, and they don't have a negate. So 5 here, and another 5 over here, and we're gonna draw 2 cards. Now let's check what we actually banished off. 1 Lao, a Chinlong, GG, Kualoon, Pankratops, 2 Chuche, that hurts, but we are playing 3 anyway, GG, Ash and Vela. So not a big deal there, but we did draw into another Chuche, fantastic, and a GG. So that's not bad whatsoever here. I could actually work with this. So let's see, what do we actually want to do? Well, we have quite a few plays. I'm actually going to normal summon out the GG because it's not necessarily the best among them for its effects. So now that we summoned that out, we could also bring out Nian. It's considered a tuner monster in this particular case, so that's definitely fantastic here. Let's see. No, sorry, this would have to be in the graveyard, so I can't actually do that. So we would actually have to summon this first, actually, so that's fine. We'll just summon out Nian, and we're going to go for Lily first, and this will allow us to then send off 1 card to the graveyard. I will send off... We'll send off Tutu to the grave, and I'm also going to send off here... Should I send Lao? No, maybe not. We'll keep Lao, but I will send off another copy of Nian. That's not necessarily the worst thing either, and obviously we summon out our Lily, not in the graveyard. But with that being said, we still have these 2 cards here, which is great, of course. Now we could actually just go for... Let's see here. Now we could go for Lulu. So we summon this, target any of these, of course, and we're just going to send off, in this particular case, a monster. So I'm going to send off an extra Lily, and this will allow us to add a spell. So we're going to go for the Kualoon here, and we're just going to activate our Kualoon. So Kualoon will allow us to place a... No, we can't actually do that, sorry. I keep making these misplays, and you can see that obviously I have a bit of inexperience with this deck, which is okay, but with that being said, we'll just send Lily to the graveyard, and no, we can't, I keep doing that still, but we're sending off the Chinlong to the graveyard, and this will essentially allow us to add Lao. So that was the whole intention, it was to get this tuna out. So yeah, let's see here. We could definitely still work out with quite a few things. For example, we could trigger off the Nian Nian, bringing it back, considering it as a tuna. This one's a non-tuna. So in this particular case, you could take Nian Nian and Lulu, and together they can synchro summon, allowing you to go for your yugioh, or you could go for your Stardust Charge or Coral Dragon as well, whichever one you feel is best. I'm just going to go for Stardust Charge, and I'll draw a card, so I'll shuffle my deck. And we draw a card off the Stardust Charge. So we got here Zhuan Wu, which is not bad as well. So in this particular case, what are we going to do here? We're going to go for our Lao Lao. So we're going to summon this out to target one of our monsters, ditch off one of our cards. So in this particular case, we're just going to ditch off one of the Kualoons. That's not bad there. But from that, we could essentially summon back one of our monsters from the graveyard. So we have Lily here, we have Lao Lao, and we have Nian Nian. What can we do here? Nian Nian is a tuna, so I could potentially go for a synchro summon again into something very nice. So we'll just come back to that for now, but I'm just going to bring back, let's just bring back the Nian Nian again, but this time this here is going to be a normal monster, a non-tuna that is. So we take the tuna and we take the Lily, and we're going to synchro summon them off, allowing us to go for our walking macrocosmos. So in this particular case, we'll go for Shen Shen, and we'll just summon that out. But we could take Nian Nian and we could take Lao Lao here, and then we could just go with these two as well, allowing us to also go for something else. I was thinking about, hold on a second, because I was thinking of an alternative as well. What you could potentially do is you could go for Zolkin right now. That could be an option. Maybe I should. No, I still want to go for the same thing though. I'll still go for the Shen Shen, but you can see that there's a lot of things you could potentially do with this particular opening hand. It's very nice here, because there are other additional things I want to do. That's why I was kind of thinking a bit for a while, but we do have over here our Lao Lao and our Stardust Charge, which is definitely very nice. But with that being said, we could also go for GG if we actually wanted to, and summon that out as well. But I'm just going to keep it in the hand because we don't really need it anyway. So we could take Lao Lao and the Stardust Charge, and this will allow us to go for Zolkin. And we set one of our cards, allowing us to go for Crystal Wing as well. So that way, what you essentially have is you have 3 card sets over here. You have a Nian Nian out on the board, and you have a Zolkin, you have Crystal Wing, and you also have Shen Shen as well. Definitely very nice here, but keep in mind that you could do so many alternative plays, which is kind of why I was hesitating. It wasn't necessarily that I didn't know what to do, it was more so that I was getting a bit indecisive as to what I wanted to do, because there was so much to actually potentially do here. So for example, let me just go back a bit. I can pretty much show an alternative of how I could have played this out. So instead of doing all that before, what you could do as an alternative is, see how I have all of this right here? You could potentially just go for you could still take these two first. One of them is a tuna, one of them is not, and this will allow us to go for our Coral Dragon first. So we're just going to bring this one out right here, and from that we could take the Coral Dragon together with the Stardust Charge Warrior and link those two, well, not link them away, but we would be going for the Zolkin, and after that we'll set these later, but the Coral Dragon allows us to draw one more time. I believe we didn't need to shuffle, so we'll draw. We've got a Cosmic Cyclone, that's fantastic anyway. But essentially now what we can do here is go with the GG, which we target one of these, summon it out, and we'll send off one of our cards to the graveyard. So in this particular case, our Chinlong. And during the end phase, we can add back whichever one we need to, set the Cosmic Cyclone, and then Zolkin will go off, allowing you to summon out your Crystal Wing. And then you could obviously take Lao Lao and Gigi, and they together can allow you to go for your, in this particular case, your Shen Shen. Or you could also take your Lao Lao and Lili and synchro summon them away, allowing you to go for your final Sigma in the extra monster zone, giving him a lot of power on top of Crystal Wing, on top of the Zolkin, and you have 4 back row here as well. Just great disruption. So that was the alternative play, and it turns out this is actually better anyway. You just don't have the Shen Shen, so you could either have this with 4 back row, well, not necessarily 4 back row, the draw could be anything, but you could always take away the final Sigma and have the Shen Shen on board instead. It's a matter of whether or not you want Macrocosmos or not. If you know what your opponent was actually playing, it might be a bigger deal, but you know what, most decks will get hurt by Macrocosmos anyway. Most decks are playing Link monsters and they're just sending monsters to the graveyard, and the fact that you're just banishing them is absolutely fantastic. But this is still definitely something that would suffice here. I mean, what are they going to do against a board like this? However, I could only fit in 2 Testhands in this because, as I said, the combos are a bit more extensive, and I did have to explain a lot more about each of these particular cards and what they did. So because of that, I'm going to have to cut this video, and we'll see you guys in the next one. But definitely let me know in the comments if you guys want to see some Testhands going first to continuing this particular video here, or do you guys just want me to go right ahead to turn 2 plays? But thanks for joining me today. I hope you all have a fantastic day. I'll see you all next time.